Well, welcome to week 2 of DNA of a Dangerous Church. Here we teach in series, not just isolated topics, all right? So we string kind of a thought or a series together in a number of weeks. This is a 4-week series, and so you're here at week 2 of DNA of a Dangerous Church. We want to be a church that doesn't play it safe. We want to be a church that doesn't retreat. We want to be a church that advances. We want to be the kind of church that is actually a threat to the kingdom of darkness. And so what we're doing for 4 weeks, in many ways, is a vision series on who we are as a church and who I hope that we continue to become as a church, the DNA of a dangerous church. Last week, we talked about being relentless in reaching. Relentless in reaching. Who's that name? We said everyone name one. We're a church of names, not numbers. Who is that name that you are constantly praying for, that you are loving into the kingdom of heaven? Relentless in reaching. Next week, we're going to talk about being constant in care. That this would be the most merciful, gracious bunch of people that you've ever been around in your life. That we would carry each other's burdens. Come back next week. I'm going to talk about Mark chapter 2 and an incredible story that unfolds in that gospel. This week, we're going to talk about being focused on the future. Focused on the future. Could you say focused on the future with me just to make sure we're all on the same page on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3. All right. College students, you can do better than that. It's going to take all of us, all right? All of us on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. It's all right. We got some room to grow. Focus on the future, all right? You guys are the future. And when I talk about the future, here's what I want us to think about. I want us to think about ages under 18, all right? So we still love our college students, but you're just out of that bullseye, all right? I want you to think about kids, and I want you to think about students. When we talk about being focused on the future, it's for us as a church to realize that the future is here. That the future right now is walking up and down these hallways. That the future right now is back in Mission Kids. That the future right now is a junior high student or a high school student. The future would be one that we focus on. A couple weeks I wrote this. A dangerous church doesn't just tolerate the next generation, they trust them. A dangerous church doesn't just encourage the next generation, they empower them, right? We're like wind behind their back. Do we encourage them? Yes, but we empower them. We let them know that you're the future, man, and you're going to go further, and you're going to do more than we ever dreamed of. We trust them. We empower them. The future of the church right now are hunting Pokemon, and you know that. The future of the church right now are flinging boogers at their buddies in class, right? Don't act like you didn't do that, all right? They're young. They're unpredictable. They're full of energy, and they are the future. When I think about those under the age of 18 in this church, that makes up 21.5% of this church. But make no mistake, they are 100% of our future. Would we be a church that is focused on the future? For the next few minutes, I want to talk about one belief, one word, and one confession. Let's start with one belief. This one belief is where we begin. If we're going to be a dangerous church in all the best ways for all the right reasons, we got to be unified as a church around this one belief. This one belief, it affects how we see the next generation. This one belief actually affects how much we believe in them. This one belief informs what we think they are capable of. This one belief in many ways are what all of this is built on today around this topic. This one belief is why we have 3 full-time staff members right now at Mission investing in our kids and students. And that's pretty awesome because a lot of you are funding that, right? So you miss an opportunity to applaud for yourself. It's amazing. We have 3 full-time staff members investing in the lives of our kids and students. We have thousands of dollars that we invest in Bibles and resources for kids and students. Because of this one belief, I might seem idealistic at times when it comes to what I think is possible with the next generation. This one belief is why right now we have 150 volunteers that invest into kids and students in our church, and it's why we need 50 more. It's why we need 50 more. This one belief, and I'm going to go ahead and receive that applause as you're ready to be one of those new 50 volunteers. I can hook you up. This one belief is simple, yet profoundly impacts how you see kids and students. Here is this one belief. Every kid is made in the image of God. If you're a junior high or high schooler and you're listening to me right now, I just take it in, consider it for a second. You're not a mistake. Quite the opposite. Man, you were made in the image of God. This one belief is us as a church just saying, listen, when it comes to kids and students, we believe it to our core. They were made in the image of God. They were made in the image of God. Every kid, yes, every kid. Not just the kids that come to this church, every kid. Not just those that here in a minute are going to have the hand motions down. Even the ones that forgot the hand motions, they're still made in the image of God. Here in about 30 minutes, when the older ones come up here and try their dance moves, even the ones that have no rhythm, they're still made in the image of God too. Even the kids that act up and are getting timeouts all the time, they are made in the image of God. Reggie Joiner says it this way: because of this, they have a divine capacity, and I couldn't agree more. Every kid is made in the image of God. Pastor John Ortberg, he wrote a book called Who Is This Man? If you're exploring Christianity and who Jesus is, this is a great resource for you. I highly recommend you get it and read it. He wrote this in the book. Historian O.M. Becky wrote a study called When Children Became People, the birth of childhood in early Christianity, in which he noted that in the ancient world, children usually didn't get named until the 8th day or so. Up until then, there was a chance that the infant would be killed or left to die of exposure, especially if it was deformed or of an unpreferred gender. This custom changed because a group of people who remembered that they were followers of a man who said, "Let the little children come to me." In the ancient world, Jesus shocked those listening that day when he said in Matthew 19, verse 14, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them." If you've read it before, you remember how the disciples were trying to brush the kids away from Jesus because they were getting in the way of ministry. But I think in many ways, Jesus was saying, listen, they are the way. Man, they're the ones that are going to take this thing. They're the ones that I'm building this thing on because they're packed full of wonder and discovery and imagination. And Jesus says, do not hinder them. Disciples, knock it off. What are you doing? Stop it. Let them come to me. And he says this peculiar, fascinating thing. Jesus says, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. Every kid is made in the image of God. I want you to imagine for a second what our world would be like without those under the age of 18. Now, let me just agree with what you're thinking right away. It would be quieter, yes. It would be cleaner. Can I get a witness? The house would be way cleaner. The apartment would be way cleaner. A few of us are really excited about that, and I'm with you 100%. Yes, that is true. I want you to just imagine, though, what this world would be like without them, without kids and students. And not just their presence, but their impact. Show of hands, how many of you on a cold Chicago day have worn a pair of these before? And if you're a guy, I hope you didn't wear ones like that. All right, we can talk about it after church if so. Earmuffs, right? How many of you have worn a pair of earmuffs? In the summer, how many of you have gone water skiing before? Show of hands. How many of you have water skied before? Yeah, a bunch of us. How many snowmobilers? Yeah, love that. You can invite me. I haven't gone in a long time, but I'd love that. Really dangerous and really fun, and those two things usually go hand in hand. Snowmobilers, love that. Trampoline. How many of you have jumped on a trampoline before and have been really injured on a trampoline before? Not to call anyone out right now, my sweet wife. And how many of you have enjoyed a popsicle on a really hot summer day? Show of hands. All right, every single one of us. How many of you know that all of these things that I just listed were invented by someone under the age of 18? Fascinating. Let me add some to the list. Windsurfing. A 12-year-old invented windsurfing. How amazing is this? Not just that, I got another one. Braille, invented by a 15-year-old. And this week when I was saying, God, I want you to do something in my heart. I know the content, but I want something to happen in here. Like, help me. Expand my view. Expand my belief on what the younger generation can do. He just brought some of these thoughts. We looked at some of the research. Amazing. Unbelievable. Let me add one to it. It's called a Volkswagen. Any of you guys hear of a Volkswagen before? It's really new. I hadn't heard of this. A 15-year-old invented this Volkswagen. Check this thing out. If you've ever visited a developing country or a super, super remote place, I've been there. Some of you have been there. One of the leading reasons for death is they can't get vaccinations in there. Can't get the right vaccines in there. Mainly because at times those vaccines, they have to stay cold. A 15-year-old invented, with a bike, this thing on the back that literally keeps these vaccines cold, and it's saving people's lives by the day. I mean, it's unbelievable. Look at the impact kids and students have had on our world. Yet, why would the church ever try to hold back kids and students? Why? As a church, we have this belief. Every kid is made in the image of God, and we're not going to tell them that they can't. We're going to get behind them and encourage them that they can and that they must. One belief. Secondly, one word. I want to talk about within this, really 4 words within this idea of one word. Some of you that have kids or students, I want you to think about the phase that your kid or student is in. And this is what our team is doing and will continue to do. They're going to help you parent, listen, they're going to help you parent according to the phase of your child or student. And so, for example, I got these 4 words that really could be your one word, according to the phase of your child and student. For those of you that have a child that was just born up to the age of preschool, here's your one word: embrace. And these 4 words that make up this one word are not based because I think they're good words. It's all based around research on what really does develop these kids emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And for the really early ones, up to preschool, this is the word: embrace. When we embrace them, what you're doing is building physical trust, hugely important to them. This is why I believe my girls, like when they were even younger than they are now, their favorite thing is wrestling time. And I'd wrestle with them, and I've said it from this stage. Dads, put down the stupid phone and get on the floor with your kids. That we would wrestle, that we would show them that we love them through our physical touch, and that's what's going on here. Through physical trust, you are building that. Embrace your little one up to the age of preschool. The second word, if you have an elementary age to middle school, this is where I'm at right now. Here's my one word. Here's our one word for our 2 girls. It's engage. It's to engage them. And what is going on here? They talk about when we do this, when we engage, we're interacting in such a way that helps discovery, and they encourage us to leverage storytelling and fun. Parents, we got to learn how to have fun. Your kids do not want a boring parent. What if we could be the funnest people that they're around? And yes, they need discipline, and they're going to get that. But I've kind of made a vow. I will be the funnest person that they ever meet. And Kelly will tell you, storytelling, it's partly part of our family, but I make up all these different kind of stories. I make them up, and we're in a new one right now, and it's crushing it. I mean, last night was a huge hit. I mean, this new story, they're like, Dad, please give us chapter 3. I'm like, no, can't do it, just chapter 2. Storytelling, they talk about how powerful this is to engage them, I think at this level and within this phase, love is spelled Time. We can't outsource this. And some of you right now, you're feeling convicted or you're feeling shame. Let that go. That's not going to help. Translate that or transfer that into greater intentionality. Start where you're at right now. What would it look like for you and for us to engage them in this phase of development? Middle school, here's your one word. Some of you have middle school kids. Affirm. Affirm. Have you been liberal with your words of affirmation? Or like the world, are you only pointing out how they're fumbling and messing things up? These middle school kids, they're not going to ask you for it, right? They won't. But I'm telling you, what they need is to be affirmed. To get down on their level and to tell them what you see in them. You were made in the image of God. Man, look at how great you're doing in this, and another thing. You've got what it takes. I'm in your corner. I believe in you. You were created for greatness. Are we affirming them? And by the way, again, you can't affirm from a distance. You got to be on their level. Spending time with them, taking them out to eat. And yes, embrace the awkward moments. Sometimes they don't quite get it. But would we even take risks in affirming middle school kids? They also talk about within this phase, this is good for some of you parents, within the affirm phase, don't freak out when they start telling you stuff. Just as best you can, don't freak out. Talk to people here at church, but don't freak out. May there be open lines of communication. Those of you that have a high school student, here's your one word: mobilize. Mobilize. Parents of freshmen, some of you have freshman students, you have 200 weeks to help them own their decisions in future. Mobilize. And if you've given them a foundation, I would argue it's time to trade in the helicopter for a slingshot. The hovering thing, at some point, if they're ready, you need to move from the hovering thing over here to release them. Send them out like Jesus did. Do it with wisdom, but send them out to make an impact. Mobilize them, teach them that wherever their feet go, man, that's where the church just showed up. You don't have to wait till you have a mortgage to do something great for God. It begins right now. Mobilize your high school students, and we want to help you with that, and we will. Some of you right now, and I just want to touch on this for a second within this one-word idea. Some of you would say, John, either I missed it or John, I don't even know how to do this. And here's what I want to say. Those of you that are following Jesus or are just starting to follow Jesus, you're opening the scriptures, you're opening the Bible, and it's starting to make sense to you. Here's what I'd love for you to think about. As you continue to understand God, as you continue to understand the gospel, here's what you're going to notice, is that right now, you are being fathered perfectly in these 4 ways. Think about it. Your heavenly Father, He wants to embrace you. And for some of you right now, you think that is just a crazy thought, but I'm telling you, He wants to embrace you. More than that, He wants to engage you. More than that, He wants to affirm you. He wants to call you son or daughter. And even more than that, your perfect heavenly Father wants to mobilize you. He wants to send you on mission. There's a resource that is helpful in this. It's a podcast I highly recommend. It's the Parent Cue podcast. It's free. You can get it on the iTunes store. Again, no matter where you're at in your parenting journey, we can all get better at this. We can all do family better. No matter what you've been handed, the Parent Cue podcast can help you in that. So one belief, every kid is made in the image of God. One word, understand your one word and parent according to their faith. Here's the third, one confession. And here's a confession. Here's a confession. Parents, you are not enough. You're not enough. Let me say it again. Parents, you are not enough. And that's good news, though. We want to help you with this. So often we're taught in culture that we have to be enough, yet every single day we look in the mirror like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm trying. And you kind of know that. And I just want to align what is true. You're not enough. But since the beginning of starting this church, we've said, here's what we want to do. We want to partner the light of the church with the heart of the home. And you bring those together and you have this orange strategy. You were not meant to do this on your own, parent. And I would encourage you, what would it look like for you to lean in and let us come alongside of you? For the next few minutes, I'm going to interview 4 people that are making a huge impact in the lives of our kids and students who have a passion to partner with parents. So if you guys would give a huge mission welcome to some of our stars, if you guys would come up. Hey, guys.
What's up, buddy?
Feels a lot better when I have friends up here. This is great. All right, so let's start with this, and Hannah, we'll start with you. Introduce yourself, so who you are and how long you've been serving within kids or students.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Hannah Gronowski, and I've been serving for about 3 years in Mission Students.
Hi, my name is Jim Braniff. I started serving with kids in the mid-'90s and then joined the church about a year ago and been helping the kids here for about 6 months.
My name is Josh Jackaway. I'm the director of Mission Students here, so providing leadership and oversight for middle school and high school. And I've been doing that for about 6 weeks now.
Love it.
My name's Jessica Bowman. I am the Mission Kids Director here, so I oversee Sunday morning baby through 5th grade small groups. And I've been here since 4 years, since the beginning.
Since the beginning. Love it. All right, so here's what I want us to dive into. At some point, you guys said yes to begin investing in the lives of our kids and our students. Why did you do that? Why did you say yes?
For me, it really started when I heard this big number that 70% of students will leave the church after high school, and it seems like such a big number. And when we hear these big numbers, it can feel so overwhelming and really, really paralyzing, right? Like how do we even start to solve a problem like that? And I started to realize, okay, if I could just impact one student, if I could help one student to understand who Jesus truly is, and then if they would be motivated to actually live a life with the sole purpose of glorifying God, and then if that same student would know what they believed so fully that they could go out into the world and tell their friends about who Jesus is, then any amount of time and energy and passion that I would have poured into that student would have been so worth it. And so I think a lot of times it seems like a big problem of the next generation leaving the church, but it just starts with one student. And for me, that's when it really clicked that mattered, and this is a commitment I had to make.
As you can, I just wish you were a little more passionate about it. That's all. That's all. Jim, how about you? Why'd you say yes?
Wow, Hannah, what she said.
Perfect.
For me, it's part of my spiritual journey was my kids. I used to drag them to church, and Sundays were not a fun day in our household. And we went to a church that values family like this church does, and our kids started dragging me. And while they were safe in learning about God, I actually understood that Jesus Christ was the first time in my life. And I came to Christ really because of a children's ministry. And even though I wasn't in there at the time, my kids got me to be able to hear that. So for me, it was just the ability then to say, well, this is what's built into me. I really feel I should be given back to that ministry.
Awesome. I love that. Josh, how about you, man? Why'd you say yes?
I said yes because 15 years ago, Sean Green said yes. See, Sean was my youth leader, and 15 years ago, my life was headed in a completely different direction, but he said yes to be a student leader, and he stepped into my story, into my brokenness and my hurt, into my places of identity being formed, and got to bring with that the message of Jesus. And I can honestly say that the impact that Sean made on my life wasn't just for me, it was for my family. It was for the people who I've had a chance to encounter. I wouldn't be sitting on this stage if 15 years ago Sean hadn't said yes.
Jess, how about you?
When I was 9, a brand new church opened up in our neighborhood, and in that moment, is this on? And in that moment, you guys got to hear me, this is good. So I was 9, a new church opened up in our neighborhood, and in that moment, my parents said yes for me. And as the years progressed, I had a decision to say yes, but the reality was athletics and other rhythms in my life, whether they be good or toxic, pulled me away. And so I had never taken the step to serve or even participate in a group. And in my mid-20s, the invitation came to say yes. And the invitation was, hey, we believe that God could use you to influence the ministry that your children will be a part of and that your children will soon lead. And when I heard that, I mean, that's exciting, John, to me. And so that's why I said yes. Because at 9, my parents said yes. And here I want to go before my children, and I want to say yes before they reach the age of 9.
It's so powerful because, I mean, there is a theme, and I know a lot of the backstories even of the impact you guys are having and how your yes affects someone else's yes, but even before you had a yes, someone else had a yes. And it's just so powerful of the ripple effect of us saying yes to the step in front of us. I love that. So Hannah, we'll start with you. Question number 3. What's the one thing, all right, the one thing that you know right now when it comes to investing in kids and students that you wish everyone else in the audience today would know? What's the one thing you know that you wish they knew?
Yeah, if there is one thing, it would be that the next generation has so much potential. And what I would want you to know about the ministry that Josh is creating and that we're supporting him in is that we are not here to baby your student. We are not going to give them the bare minimum, but we actually are going to look them in the eye and say, I believe in the potential that God has given you, and we're going to encourage you to rise to the occasion. And we're going to look at them and say, hey, we actually expect you to pursue Christ with passion. And hey, we actually expect you to contribute and to make a difference in the world and be a leader in your community. And the cool thing is that we're actually getting to watch as these students are actually doing it. I mean, these students bring me back stories of them telling their friends about Jesus, like boldly. And these students are serving in their communities. They're becoming leaders. They're serving at church. They're asking these big questions. They're getting up before school to read their Bibles and journal and have solitude. And it's blowing my mind because these students are understanding they have potential. And we, as mission students, we want to communicate that to your students. So we're not going to baby them if they join us, but we're going to really challenge them and communicate to them the potential we believe they have.
Love that. I love that. Jim, how about you?
Well, here we go.
What teamwork?
The one word was a word that's been resonating. It's ripple effect. So when I came here and saw what was happening, I wanted to get involved, talked to Jessica, and what she did was ingenious, by the way. I don't know if you know this. She did a tour of the entire ministry, and she showed me all the different roles. And about half the roles don't even involve face-to-face with kids. The ministry really needs everyone's help. But I saw my spot. I knew it. It was on my heart. And
Which is your spot, by the way?
I do large group programming with the elementary kids. So I get to do something that engages them, that involves them, that brings the story to life. I get to play characters. I was Drake Rockwell recently.
Oh, so
yes.
good.
That was fun. That was fun.
got a fan
So
club.
it's just, for me, it's kind of like, I can't believe I get to do this, but I do. And I have a blast. But, for me, the ripple effect is the key. So what I want you to understand is that when you serve, sure, you have a blast and it's well organized, but then you build a foundation for a kid. And that kid's foundation then is that groundwork that gets built on as they get older. That builds into their family and to their parents. And 9/11's coming up, and now you want to think about a reason to invite a family here. Tell them because of the kids' ministry. If you bring your kids to this church, they're going to have a blast. It's another way to invite, and it just keeps on going and going and going. So I know it's not one word, but the ripple can turn into a tsunami, and you could all be a part of it.
I love it. One thing I want to drill down on real quick is the misconception with working with kids specifically is, well, I don't like holding crying babies. I don't either, and I'm actually not good at it.
I don't either.
But I love how you found what you were good at. You found what really brought you passion, and obviously what is impacting our kids. And so I think that's a really important
If I
thing.
could add to that, my wife and I always wanted to find a place to serve together. She loves holding babies, and I love babies, but I want to talk to someone. So we tried to serve in the same area. We couldn't, and that's good.
Yes.
So she rocks the babies, and I get
You
the
rock the
kids.
music.
I rock the music. Yes.
Love it. Love it. Josh, how about you? What's the one thing you wish they knew that you know when it comes to kids and students?
Yeah, it's that there is a role and an opportunity for everyone to play in the lives of our middle school and high school students. I think that sometimes the belief is that to serve in that area that you have to be a small group leader like what Hannah is, and Hannah over here is incredibly gifted and called and passionate, and that's hopefully to everyone super obvious, right? But you don't have to be Hannah. Like, just let yourself off the hook with that. You don't have to be Hannah. There are so many opportunities and roles within students, from our environments team to our connections, our host team, our welcome team, to communication. And we would love for you to take a next step in serving in that way. Because here's what I believe, that if you looked around this auditorium, and you could imagine every single seat in this auditorium filled, we still would not have enough people to reach the students in the 10. That there are nearly 20,000 students that exist right here in these 10 communities, and I believe that God has called us as a church to lead them and to reach them and to go after them, and I believe that God is calling some of you to step up and to serve or to lead in a powerful way, because God is going to do something incredibly powerful by you saying yes.
I love that. And again, it's obvious you don't really care about this. But, it's partly why we hired you to do this job, because your heart for junior high and high school students and your belief in what they are capable of, and at the same time, your passion for the volunteers and the transformation that's going to happen as they get off the sideline and into the game. I love that. Yeah. Jess, how about you?
How long do I have?
You got a couple hours.
Okay. There are various misconceptions or unknowns about Mission Kids, and I'll focus on Sunday morning. We are not babysitting, and I got to tell you, we have strategy back there in the ways that we group our children. We look at our elementary kids, and we know that this hour, we can capitalize this hour and allow them to have a voice and be known, and so we lead small. We circle 6 kids up with one safe leader. And this strategy combats this recent research that has been done. Why are kids and students walking away from the church? And it's not because they don't have faith. It's because they don't have a safe circle and a safe adult to process their questions and maybe disbelief with. And so we are not okay with that, and that's something that we feel pretty strongly about. We are not babysitting back there. Another unknown or misconception is that we are just coloring. We are just coloring. And that cannot be any far from the truth. We've got I see some of my leaders smiling. We've got a comprehensive plan for your children that involves Bible story. Every age group has their own unique Bible, and it involves bottom lines and foundational truths, and it involves memory verses. And from our little 2-year-olds to our 5th graders, they are learning Scripture. They are memorizing Scripture. And so we've got a little, taste from our preschoolers this morning. Our 2-year-olds, our 3-year-olds, and our 4-year-olds are going to come out right now. And can you guys please give them a warm welcome?
Hey, you're catching this. Hey, real quick, as they're leaving stage, if you have been a volunteer within our kids and or our students over the past number of years, would you just stand to your feet real quick? If you've been a volunteer for any length of time. Awesome. Let's give these guys a round of applause. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you, guys. You can grab a seat. One of the things I love is all ages are investing in the next generation of this church. It's a really powerful thing. To be a church that's focused on the future, we will not drift into that. It won't happen by accident, but it's going to happen when all of us begin to say, all right, there's probably a spot. There's probably a position I can play. One of the best things we've seen our college students do during the school year is to get involved and to begin investing in the next generation. All right, we've got one more question. What would you guys say to those people who are on the fence? So before those that were standing, there was a moment in their time here at Mission where they were on the fence. They were thinking about it. Maybe they were curious about it. Maybe they even felt like really led to do it, but they were on the fence. Something moved them to get in the game. But what would you guys say to those that are still on the fence considering this?
Yeah, I didn't actually personally have an awesome small group experience when I was in middle school. I was in one of the small groups in my church that kind of drifted from small group to small group because there was no adult small group leader who stood up to be my leader. And so when I actually said yes to this opportunity, I didn't even really know the potential impact that a small group leader could have on a student. And I didn't realize how I would be impacted by my students either. I didn't realize the love that God would put in my heart for my girls. I didn't realize that 6 a.m. coffees would suddenly be something that I would look forward to. I didn't realize that getting a call from one of my girls during the week and them telling me all about how they're telling their friends about Jesus and they need new tips, I didn't realize how that would just like make my entire week. I didn't realize that getting an urgent text from one of them about a tragedy that happened in their life would make me want to drop everything and get to their side. And I didn't realize that saying yes to this opportunity would mean that I was saying yes to having a front row seat to see God literally transforming lives. And I think so often we look really far to find ways that we can impact people, right? We might cross oceans and we might look in alleyways and go to dark places, and that is all good and so important, and I do that as well. But I think God is calling his church to once again look right in our own backyard, right in the walls of our church and say, hey, there are lives to be impacted right here. And what if we stood up as the church and said, I am going to personally impact the lives that God has put in the place that he has placed me? And I think that is so powerful. So I would say, if you're on the fence, that if you want a front row seat to see how God is transforming lives right here in our own backyard, in the place that God has put you, then say yes to this opportunity.
She's a tough act to follow. You know, for me, I would just say steps do matter. There's no doubt about it. The Orange Ministry, the organization, how well you're equipped to volunteer, it's really easy. So I would say that steps matter, but I think you should just jump in, the water's fine, and make some ripples.
I love it. Josh?
Yeah, I would say that you will get out of it far more than you give. That I think that right now, if you were going to look at your schedule, say, Josh, I'm busy. There's so many things that I give my time to, my passion to, my energy to. How can I say yes to one more thing? And I would say it's because you will get more out of this than you give. That God wants to do something incredible in the lives of our students, and he wants to do it through you. So will you say yes? Will you invest yourself in this and see what God begins to do in your own heart, in your own life, as you begin to serve, as you begin to, as Hannah talked about, experience what you get back from them, the way that they challenge you, shape you, encourage you, grow you, not just as their leader or somebody who's serving them, but as a follower of Jesus.
Jess?
I would say start today with praying to God, how can I actively advance your kingdom? And whether that be individually, maybe it's a mentorship relationship, or it's on Sunday mornings, or it's through our Kids Hope ministry, or is it as a family? Do you and your family link arms and come along on Sundays and serve together alongside one another? I know for me, and I know I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of parents here, a lot of us here, I want to see Mission Church be strong and healthy for my lifetime. But beyond that, more importantly, I want this church to be strong and healthy for our children's lifetime, and not until we all take ownership. And it could be a small step. It doesn't have to be a big step. It can be a small step. Not until we take ownership to invest in these little ones will this church continue to thrive and be strong. We don't want to see Mission become a dying church. It's all about our young generation in growing this church, and it's our future.
I love it. So there's a couple things I'm going to say, and then our band's going to come up, I want to be as clear as I can on this. We really want to have the DNA of a dangerous church, and part of that is to really be focused on the future. And some of you, your role is going to be to just participate in that on a regular basis. It's to be here consistently. It's to do anything and everything that you can to have your kids in this environment every week. It's to do anything and everything that you can to have your junior high student in this environment every week and your high school student in this week. No matter what last year or the last 10 years have looked like, today can be a starting line. And so I'd just encourage you, parents, really think about this. It's a sobering thought. Think about it. One of the single best things you can do for the life of your child is to have them in this environment. So participate in that. And for a number of you guys, perhaps it's to do even more than that. It's yes to participate, but it's even for you to join the team. For you to be one of the 50 that we're praying for over the next few weeks that'll say, you know what, I want to be part of this Team Orange thing. I want to invest into the lives of our kids and in the lives of our students. Right now, we're going to throw to a video of what has been going on a little bit in Mission Kids. You guys are going to love this, and our band will round us out. Let's take a look at the screens now.
Shrink it down a little.
Nice and loud.
Okay.
So, what's one thing you learned in church today?
Jesus,
What about Jesus?
he helps us with the problems with us.
That Jesus died on the cross for us.
God sent his kids down to earth.
He talks to us inside our hearts that Jesus is always there for you when you need him.
I learned that like if people don't have a home or they don't have food, like you can welcome them to your house, or like they can eat something, or like they can lay down or go to sleep.
Who are the people that Jesus gives you in your life who love you so much?
My mom and my dad.
What's one way that you listen to your parents that's been really helpful?
By like every time when I come back from school and then they tell me to clean up, I clean up. And my sisters don't.
My parents have definitely impacted me in my spiritual journey because like they've just been there for me through thick and thin.
Definitely my dad. You know, there was a lot of trying times where, you know, I was just mad at everything, and he was always, you know, kind of that person that would get me back into church and get me back, you know, right with whenever I was in a bad mood or whatever.
Definitely Kelsey McMahon, because, well, she's my youth leader, and she is really easy to talk to.
What are some things that God has given you?
Fans, monkeys and lions.
I think that God's plan for me is to become like a missionary and help others across the countries and nations and everywhere. To just tell people more about God, because I think lots of people, if they know about him, they would come to church, but some people don't know about him. Like being a missionary in your own town.
I can't really say I know for a fact. Like, I don't know. Like, it's still kind of up in the air. I know what I want to do. I want to be, you know, affecting people's lives and making it better every day. I want to be, you know, a pastor eventually, hopefully a pastor of this church, you know, if that's able to happen.
I would be in the room where you'd sing songs and where all the kids sing along. Being a stuntman and catching on fire.
Honestly, I don't really know, but I know he has a plan for me, and that's just all. I just have to know and remember to trust him no matter what.
Actually, a hockey player. When I grow up, I'm going to play for the men's league. Firefighter and a mechanic.
How would he help you be a mechanic?
By helping me not be electrocuted.
An NBA player.
I want to be a kindergartner teacher, and I want to work at Culver's.
God's plan, I think it's all in his hands, first of all, but it's possibly being successful and being more than just a brick in the wall, but being an influence to others, not only my sisters, but to other people in the world.
Thank you for watching Mission Church Online. It's our prayer that this message both challenged and inspired you. We hope you will join us in redefining what church could be in your life by taking a next step. Whether that's sharing this message with a friend, joining us live next Sunday, or requesting prayer by emailing us at prayer@wearemission.com. We believe that these are moments that can lead to movement.